separates the bowl from the motor. So this just goes on top, like that. And then this is the hand knob, just screws on top in place. And then I just want to point out also that there are wheels on this machine, which normally this machine doesn't have wheels, but these were installed later on just to make it easier to move around the plant, with like more ergonomically helpful in moving the machine. Also, this is the hold tilt lever. It's in the hold position right now. Right, pull it down to tilt. Then the machine is much easier to tilt forward to pour out your contents into any container or anything that you want to hold the food in. This, put it back in the hold position. Here is the start and stop buttons for when you want to run your machine. This is the time setter, so you can set your time. I'm going to close the lid. And lock it in place. And then when you want to run the machine, you take the power cord and you plug it into the main risers.
Hi, I'm going to discuss with you a few ways that the Hobart vertical cutter mixer can be used. First, the Hobart vertical cutter mixer can be used for a wide variety of food service recipe preparation needs. It runs on 2 speeds. The low speed can be used for general cutting and mixing of produce, cheese, meats, and other ingredients that need to be cut and mixed. The high speed can be used for emulsifying, pureeing, pulverizing, and crumbing. Meats, vegetables, cheeses, pastry and cake products, some doughs, and salad dressing can all be processed through the Hobart vertical cutter mixer. There is also a knead mixed shaft attachment that can be used for non-cutting applications such as yeast doughs, cakes, icing, and liquid mixes. Next, I'm going to talk about the safety behind the Hobart vertical cutter mixer. This machine does use moving blades to cut and mix ingredients. Therefore, there are some basic safety measures to take when using the cutter mixer. First, be sure that the machine is unplugged before installing bowl seal and attachments for cleaning. You also must make sure that the breaker is turned off before unplugging the machine. Second, never open the bowl before the knives have stopped moving. Third, always remove knife accessory before emptying the bowl. With awareness and caution, the Hobart vertical cutter mixer is a safe and diverse kitchen tool.
Now I will show you how to operate the vertical cutter mixer. Before we do anything, we need to plug it in. Once you have plugged in the vertical cutter mixer, you have to rotate the plug and ensure that it is in a locked position. Next, we will turn on the breaker to supply power to the machine. So now we have to turn on the breaker that will supply power to our machine because the machine is a very high voltage, so it has its very own. Now we're ready to use it. Now that our machine is all plugged in and ready to go, we just need to take a few quick steps before we begin. First, make sure that the bowl tilt handle is in the hold position, which will lock the machine in a vertical upright position. Next, you must make sure that the lid is locked firmly and securely. The machine won't turn on unless it is. Now that the machine is locked, it is ready to be used. There are 3 different functions that you can use on a vertical cutter mixer: the run, jog, and timer function. With the run function, you will select run from the knob on the side, press the start button. Using the run function, the machine will run continually after pressing the start button and will stop when you press the stop button. The jog function will only run as long as you press the start button and will stop when you release it. The timer function allows you to run the machine for an allotted time, however long you would like, and then at the end of the timer, it will stop. Once you are done chopping up your mixture, Make sure that the blade has stopped moving before you open the lid. Unlock the lid, lift it up. Now, if you have a cut mix shaft, you will want to remove it before you pour out the contents. If you have a mixed shaft left inside, then you can leave it there. If you have a strainer, you will also want to remove the straining basket before you pour out any of your items that you're cutting. Next, you will switch your bowl tilt handle to the tilt position. And you will pull the bowl towards you and pour out your contents into the waiting bowl. And that's how you use a vertical cutter mixer.
Hi, so I'm here to talk to you about how to clean the vertical cutter mixer. So just to start out, you want to make sure that you don't use a cleaner that's going to damage the lid of the mixer. So you want to avoid using cleaners such as powdered and liquid cleansers. You want to avoid steel wool pads and other abrasive pads. You want to also avoid highly caustic chemicals such as drain cleaners or chemical dishwasher detergents. So at this point, you can open up the vertical mixer and have it like this. So it's going to be dirty because you just made some sort of product, and you'll have had put the product in some sort of container. And so you want to do a pre-wash at this point. So you're going to put a gallon of warm water inside the bowl with all the parts still inside, and as well as 1 to 2 tablespoons of a mild liquid dishwashing detergent such as Joy. So you can close it back up. Make sure you put it in the lock position, and also make sure that it's in the hold position. And then you want to put it on the jog setting, and you want to put it or set it for 3 bursts of 3 seconds, and this is going to make a good soapy water for you to clean the inside of the bowl. And so at this point, you want to unplug the machine as a safety precaution because you have water. You're going to be dumping it out, and so you open it back up and have it open. And then this is when you want to remove all of the inside parts. So you want to take off the hand knob and the shaft assembly, and you can set them down on another surface, but you ultimately want to take them to the 3-compartment sink or to a commercial dishwasher. In addition to the baffle here and the handle, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to be taking them off, but you're going to also clean those separately in the 3-compartment sink or the dishwasher. So at this point, you have your soapy water inside of the bowl. So you want to take a soft spatula, if necessary, a plastic spatula, and you can clean the food particles off of the sides that haven't been removed from the mixing that you already did. So you want to make sure it's fully cleaned. You also want to take a soft brush and clean the bowl seal inside. Just make sure it's thoroughly cleaned. And so at this point, now that everything is cleaned, something I haven't yet mentioned is this is a clean in place piece of machinery. So this basically is just because it is a really heavy piece of equipment, and it would be impractical to have to move it to the dish or the sink every single time you wanted to clean it. So you want to make sure to position it over a floor drain so you can dump the water easily just into the floor drain. So now you put it in the tilt position, and you can dump out the soapy, dirty water into the floor drain. And you can put it back up. And then at this point, you're going to want to rinse the inside of the bowl because it's still very soapy. So you put another gallon of warm water in, and you can rinse it just by mixing the water, and
can do this as many times as needed, and you continually will just dump the rinse water into the floor drain. So you do that as many times as you need. And then at this point, now that it's fully cleaned, you take a sanitizing solution and you can spray the inside of the bowl and allow it to air dry. And once it's fully air dried, you can take these parts and put them back on, reassemble them, and you put the baffle back on and the handle because those would be off as well. And then you can close the machine, put it in the hold position, and then you don't have to lock it because you can leave it open and ready for the next person. And that's